the dark, eerie corners of my childhood home, there existed a room that was seldom used, a forgotten space we called the second living room. Its only inhabitants were an ancient recliner, a small table, and a modest couch, all shrouded in shadows and silence. This room, tucked away on the first floor, was a place we hardly ventured into. One fateful morning I awoke, plagued by sickness. My mother, ever caring, advised me to rest at home while the rest of the family carried on with their day. The house, usually bustling with life, was left hauntingly quiet, with only me to fill its vast emptiness. As the clock struck 10:30 a.m., a chilling sound broke the silence, the unmistakable echo of footsteps from the first floor. Initially, I dismissed it, thinking perhaps my mother had delayed her departure for work. However, curiosity and a need for something downstairs lured me from the safety of my room. Stepping into the kitchen, a horrifying sight met my eyes. There, standing before me, was not my mother, but a towering figure clad in tattered, torn garments. His presence was menacing, and his eyes, devoid of emotion, locked onto mine. Time stood still as fear paralyzed me. After what seemed like an eternity, I snapped out of my trance and fled to my bedroom, barricading myself inside. In a panic, I called my mother instead of the authorities, my voice trembling with terror as I recounted the intruder's ominous presence. Following her instructions, I summoned the police. The agonizing wait ended as they arrived, and I rushed to their safety. I recounted my tale, and they scoured the house, but found no trace of the intruder or any sign of forced entry. The return of my parents brought both anger and relief. The mystery deepened when, as the police were about to leave, one officer noticed a Walmart bag peeking from beneath the couch in that seldom-used room. What they uncovered next was beyond comprehension. Heaps of trash bags, decaying food, and stolen personal items, all evidence of someone living undetected under our very noses. The realization that a stranger had been lurking in our home for weeks, silently observing our every move, sent shivers down my spine. How had we missed the signs? The smell, the silence, it all now seemed so sinister. In the aftermath, the room was transformed into a breakfast nook, its furnishings replaced to ensure no such horror could ever repeat. As I prepared to leave for college, the memory of that day lingered, a haunting reminder of the unseen dangers that lurk in the shadows of our seemingly safe havens. It was a decade ago, in a small, eerie town on the outskirts of the Midwest, where I experienced something that still haunts my dreams. I was a senior in high school, a solitary kind of guy who appreciated the quiet. My family was away for the weekend, leaving me and our loyal dog Max, a gentle golden retriever, alone in our creaky old house. That weekend, I was reveling in my solitude, playing video games, indulging in late-night snacks, and watching classic horror movies. Max, who was more of a gentle giant than a guard dog, was my only company, dozing peacefully at my feet. Around midnight, a sudden crash from the backyard jolted me awake. Max's ears perked up, a low growl rumbling in his throat. It was unusual for him to react this way, as he was normally a calm and quiet dog. I tried to brush it off as a stray animal or a falling branch, but a sense of unease crept over me. Minutes later, another loud bang echoed through the house, followed by the sound of scraping metal. Max bolted towards the kitchen, barking ferociously, his behavior completely out of character. My heart raced as I realized someone was trying to break into our home through the rarely used cellar door. Armed with a hefty flashlight, I crept towards the kitchen, Max growling menacingly by my side. As I approached the cellar door, the intruder must have heard Max's barks and fled, leaving behind a chilling silence. The next morning, I inspected the cellar door to find it nearly off its hinges, the lock tampered with. That night, Max's bravery and instinct had protected me from an unknown danger lurking in the shadows. Years later, as I said goodbye to Max, who had grown old and frail, I remembered that night. His actions had not just been a dog protecting his home. It felt like he knew the gravity of the situation, that our lives were in danger. In his final moments, I thanked him, not just for his companionship, but for being my guardian on that fateful night. Max's courage that night might have been the reason I was able to live the life I have today. In a remote village, shrouded in the mystery of old tales, I experienced something inexplicable when I was about 14 years old. Our house, an ancient, looming structure, always seemed to creak and whisper secrets of its past. That night, a fierce storm was brewing, and with the house's history of strange occurrences, I decided to sleep in the living room for safety. It was nearing 1 a.m., and the storm was unleashing its fury. The rain pelted against the windows like a barrage of arrows, and the thunder was deafening. As I lay there, engrossed in a book by the dim light of a lamp, I heard the distinct sound of gravel crunching under tires. It was our unique family car, unmistakable in our small, close-knit community. Expecting my mom, who often worked late, I gathered my blanket and my loyal cat, Luna, preparing to greet her. But after a few tense minutes of waiting, I peeked through the rain-streaked window. The driveway was empty, not a single trace of any vehicle. Confused, I thought I might have mistaken the sound for a distant thunderclap. As I settled back, the sound of the car returned, more persistent this time. My heart raced with a mix of fear and curiosity. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. Moments later, I heard what sounded like my mom's voice calling my name softly from the kitchen. Luna, usually responsive to any sound, seemed oblivious, which sent chills down my spine. I remained frozen, unable to move or respond. The calling continued, a soft, eerie whisper that seemed to know me. I couldn't bring myself to investigate. Instead, I lay there, gripped by an overwhelming sense of dread, until I eventually succumbed to a restless sleep. When dawn broke, I woke up to find my mom's car parked outside. She had just returned. I recounted the night's events to her, my voice trembling. She listened, her face turning pale, and admitted to feeling a strange presence in the house at times. We never found out what happened that night, but the memory of that voice, so familiar yet so foreign, still haunts me. The house, with its creaking floors and whispering walls, now felt like a domain where the past and the present collided, leaving me to wonder about the unseen entities that might dwell within its shadows.